Yeah, good afternoon. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so in the last lecture, we are discussing about scheduling. So we have discussed about maybe a few ideas regarding scheduling, right? So maybe you can think of scheduling at different levels. One maybe at the virtual machine level, in the sense where exactly you're going to schedule the virtual machine in a particular server, or maybe at the application level. So which application are scheduled in which virtual machine, and so on. And one important thing to be considered in the case of scheduling is that it should be fair, right? So that means all should be given equal opportunity, and one more important thing is that it should support all different types of category of applications. So we have seen different types of application, right? Maybe it can be mainly categorized as best effort, soft real time, and hard real time type of application. So best effort in the sense there is no strict deadline or the uh, or maybe performance, right? So they don't expect the strict deadline or the performance. And the soft real time maybe in between, right? So and with respect to the hard real time, it says that it should be done within this deadline, uh, and performances of maybe whatever mentioned in the SLA. So maybe suppose if that is a requirement, you cannot use a simple FIFO queue, right? So with one FIFO queue with maybe all a different category of application. So that is a limitation of FIFO. So maybe as I mentioned, it should support a different class of application, right? So we what you can do is instead of one queue, maybe you can have multiple queues, right? Multiple queues with the maybe you can assign a priority, right? Maybe suppose if I consider this scenario, right, where you have maybe three different queues, right? So one queue maybe hard real time applications, and second one maybe soft real time, and one for the best effort, and you can give the priority. Maybe for the hard real time you give the priority, okay, so that it always picks the jobs or the task from higher priority queue itself. Then what is the problem? Suppose if there are more number of maybe tasks, right, in the high priority queue, and the scheduler will always serve from the higher priority queue itself. All right, so maybe the task or the job in the other queue may not get any chance. Right, so maybe the priority is also not a best idea. So maybe you can go for what is called as a fair queuing. So what is fair queuing? Right, you have maybe it's a number of queues. Maybe each queue may support a different class of application. Then maybe while picking, you pick the maybe suppose if you consider a job, okay, job in each queue, you want to schedule a job. All right, in that case, maybe you can pick one from each queue in a round robin fashion. All right, first job you may pick from Q1, then Q2, Q3, Q4. Then once again you repeat the same process. All right. So even though it looks like a fair, uh, but the problem with this is that maybe some of the flow may benefit from the larger bandwidth. Okay, so the example is something like this. As I already gave one example, right? Suppose if you consider a scenario of buying items in a grocery shop, and where there are two queues, all right? So where one queue for the customer who is buying only one or two items, and other queue is for maybe customer buying the grocery for entire month. Okay, he may be needed maybe more than 10 items. All right, now according to fair queuing, what it does is it will serve one customer from each queue. So now let us say that the Q1 is for the customer who is buying only one or two items, and the Q4 with the customer who is buying maybe more than 10 items. Now the fair queuing, what happens here? So one customer will be served from Q1 where he is buying only one item. Then round robin fashion it goes to Q2 and he is buying 10 items. Then once again it goes back to the Q1, right? It takes a lot of time. Then once again from the Q1, one customer is buying only one, and second, with the round robin, once again it will come back to the Q2. So now you can see that, right? So maybe from the Q2, the customer buying a lot of items, he will be benefited more. So now this you cannot say that it is, maybe even though by using round robin we say that it is fair, but it is not that fair. So still, how we can still make fair? So for that, what is the solution provided was bit by bit round robin, bit by bit round robin. So in this case, how exactly bit by bit? So bit by bit is something like this. I will take the same scenario, okay, where maybe maybe this is a Q1, okay, so this Q1 and this is Q2. So here the customers are buying maybe 10, here the customer is buying only one items. Okay, now let's say that there are 5 customers. So 3 customers, C1, C2, C3. And Q2 where the customer is buying maybe 10 items. Okay, each customer is buying 10 items. 10, 10, 10. So according to round robin, how exactly it works? Maybe pick one customer from Q1, then one customer from Q2, like that. But what do you mean by this bit by bit round robin? So bit by bit round robin is something like this. First you serve the customer one, okay, with only one item. Then go back to second queue, and even though he need 10 items, then you just provide only one item and once again go back to this. So that is the basic idea. But with respect to implementation, what they will do is something like this. Maybe first you serve one, maybe one customer, then you may go to maybe with the round robin, you go to second. Then once again you come back. Maybe you may serve another 3, 4, maybe another 10 customers who need less number of items. Then you just context switch to other queue. So that is the basic idea of this bit by bit round robin. Okay, so here, as I said, which has a multiple queues, right? So in this case, maybe subscript refers to the packet, subscript refers to the packet, and this A refers to the flow. Okay, flow in the sense with respect to here multiple queues. So now what is the finish time? Finish time is nothing but finish time of each flow. Finish time is nothing but start time plus so length of the packet. Start time plus the length of the packet. It is something like this. Suppose if the customer is entered at particular time and he want to buy that many number of grocery shop, and when how much time is required. So that is the finish time. Okay. Then for start time, how do you compute the start time? So for the next customer, okay, when you will start serve the next customer, that is nothing but the max of when the previous customer has finished. So immediately after previous customer has finished, or right, in case if the customer is not yet arrived, so we have to wait till another customer is arrived. So whatever the maximum, so that maximum value will be taking. Okay, so please don't confuse with the this one. It is something like this. I will take two scenario. Right. So in one queue, now let's say that for one customer, okay, for one customer, you need maybe assume that 15 minutes. So this is assume that customer one. Okay, so customer one is arriving at 9 o'clock. Okay, and to serve that customer, assume that maybe 15 minutes is required. Okay. Next, when the second customer will be served, when the second customer will be served. So there are two scenarios. One scenario is something like this. Okay, the second customer may arrive maybe before maybe before 9:15 itself. Okay, before 9:15 or within this one only. So in this case, when this one will second customer will be served immediately after serving the first customer, the second customer will be served. So that is what given here. So this is nothing but start time of next customer is nothing but so this one. And another scenario is something like this. The second customer will arrive only at 9:30. Right? So then means to serve the second customer, maybe it is a max of this value. So when he will be arriving. So that is what the that is what is not given, right? So for the second customer is the thing max of right. Suppose if the second customer or the second packet, whatever you think, or second job, if it is already arrived or immediately after the completion of the first job, if it is arrived, then immediately you just serve. Otherwise, you have to wait. Yes. So this diagram will represents the same thing. Okay. So now this represents. All right. This is the start time, and this is the finish time of the second customer. Okay. You assume start time and finish time. Okay. So now this is actually refers to the late arrival, in the sense the previous customer is already served. Previous customer is already served, and the new customer has arrived late. Right. So then it will be start from here. Right. Start time is this, and finish time is this much of time. Now this scenario is something like this. The maybe the second customer has already arrived. So since he is already arrived, so maybe when the second customer will be served, immediately after serving the first customer, second customer will be served. Okay, so now that is with respect to each flow, right? Flow 1 and flow 2. Okay, in each flow you decide, so which is the next job to be processed, or which is the next packet to be processed. Now among this, which one you will be selecting? The next packet to be transmitted is one with the smallest FIA. So one with the smallest FIA. Okay, so a small variation in this fair queuing is start time fair queuing. So the diagram which I already shown, so that is how exactly this start time fair queuing works. So which is a hierarchical CPU scheduler for multimedia operating systems, which was proposed in the paper, that is 142. Okay, so in this case, the start time fair queuing algorithm organizes the consumers of the CPU bandwidth in a tree structures. Root node represents is a processor, and the leaves of the tree nodes are threads of each applications. A scheduler acts at each level of the hierarchy. So this diagram we have already seen, right? So maybe you can think of, so this is one server, right? So in that server, two virtual machines are running. So one server, two virtual machines, and here you can see the weightage. So 1 and 3, right? So maybe if equal weightage is given, maybe each each virtual machine will get the same time slot. Now here weight is more, VM2 is getting more weightage, so that will be executed, or that will get more CPU slot than the virtual machine 1. So now within the virtual machine 1 itself, maybe they have specified that two application is running, A1 and A2, and they have mentioned the weight also, all right? So where application 1, the weight given is 3, and application 2, the weightage given is 1. All right, and each maybe application, it may be of single threaded or multi-threaded, right? If it is a multi, now here they have assumed that it is a this application is of uh, uh, application is running 3 thread, and all the threads are given, all threads are given equal priority, right? So 1 1 1, right? In case if you give more weightage to the thread, so that will be executed more frequently, right? So maybe the thread priority concept you might have studied in third semester of OP, right? How you can set the priority of a thread. Okay, similarly for virtual machine 2 running only one application, and that has 3 thread, and each thread has given maybe equal weightage. Okay, now how exactly uh, uh, how much the CPU time will be shared by each of the virtual machines, or each of the uh, application running in that virtual machine. So that is nothing but Bi by B, which is equal to Wi by summation of j equal to 1 to n Wj. So it is nothing but how many applications, or how many virtual machines are running. Maybe if you consider a root level, right? Maybe something like this, where you have a server, right? Server with the virtual machine V1 and V2. So V1 and V2, assume that this has given maybe weightage 1 and this was given weightage 2. Okay, then maybe you can think of maybe total processor bandwidth, maybe you can think it of 9. Okay, if it is 9, how much the resource V1 will get and V2 will get, right? So according to this formula, right? For V1 it is nothing but weightage is 1, right? So 1 by the total is 3, 1 by 3, and this total resource is B, so that into 9, right? So that is nothing but 3, so that is for V1, and similarly for V2 it is V2 weightage is given 2, right? So 2 by 3 into 9, so that is 6, right? 3 and 6. So that means in case if virtual machine 1 is executed maybe for 3 seconds, then after 3 seconds the context switch will happen and virtual machine 2 will be executed. Then after 6 maybe time quantum, once again it will come back to the V1, V2 and so on. And here in case of start time fair queuing, right? So when a virtual machine is not active, its bandwidth is reallocated to the other virtual machines active at that time, right? So initially maybe more than one virtual machine will be running in case if one virtual machine is blocked, all right? So in that case, that other virtual machine can consume entire bandwidth or the entire CPU. That is at the root level or at the virtual machine level, right? So similarly, maybe if you consider at the application level, one virtual machine is running two applications, all right? In case if one application is maybe not running, all right? So in that case, maybe entire the CPU may be utilized by other applications, and that is applicable for at the thread level also. Okay, so next some of the notations with respect to the start time fair queuing. Here we are considering only two threads. Okay, the threads are thread A and thread B. Okay, now V of T. Okay, so V actually refers to the virtual time. So V actually refers to the virtual time. V of T. T is a real time and V is a virtual time. So virtual time of that corresponding real time. And the subscript refers to the different thread. So where A and B. So here we are considering only two threads. Okay, so VA of T and VB of T are referring to the virtual time of the two thread. Okay, with respect to the real time T. Okay, so next Q. So Q is the total time quantum. All right, so Q is the quantum of the scheduler in millisecond. Okay, then what is QA and QB? QA and QB. Okay, so that is a time quanta for each thread. So the time quanta for each thread is nothing but Q by WA and Q by WB. Okay, that is the total quanta divided by WA, and this one is the total quanta by WB. And so this, okay, as the name indicates, S and F. Okay, this is the start time, and F is the finish time. And the subscript refers to the thread. So here it is the thread A. And this I refers to the ith activation. And the tau of J is a real time of jth invocation of the scheduler. Okay, so this we'll see in this rules. Okay, so now what are the rules for this start time fair queuing scheduler? Yes, first one, R1. For the first rule says that the threads are serviced in the order in which their virtual startup time. Okay, according to the virtual startup time only, the threads are served. Okay, in case if there is a tie, maybe any one thread will be selected. Okay, randomly one of the thread will be selected. Okay, so next, the virtual startup time of ith invocation of the thread X is So the virtual startup time of ith invocation of the thread X is xx of ith invocation of T, which is equal to max of v of tau of j, comma fx of I minus 1 t. So it is almost similar to the previous example we have taken. All right. So this is a it is a previous it is a finish time of the thread, finish time of the I minus 1 invocation of the thread X. Okay, either this or V of tau of J. Okay, so now what is this V of tau of J? So now let us directly go to this rule 4. So that is V of T. So V of T is a virtual start time of the thread in service at time T. At time T. Okay, now let us say that you want to compute the virtual time at time T. At that time, what is the thread is running and it's the start time. So that you need to consider. That is a virtual start time of the thread in service at time T. So that is in case of CPU is busy. If the CPU is idle, then you will be considering maximum finish virtual time of any thread. In case if CPU is idle, so this will happen when maybe both the threads are blocked. When both the threads are blocked, then you will be considering the maximum finish time. Okay, then R3. So R3 is the virtual finish time of ith activation of the thread X. So that is nothing but yes, finish time of a thread X in ith invocation. That is nothing but start time plus Q by WX. Okay, so one quiz question was already given based on this, right? So start time plus Q by WX. Okay, so now let us see one example. Please read the question. Yes. So this is an example for start time fair queuing. So now what is given? Given is only two threads. Two threads are given and weights are also given. So that is WA equal to 1 and WB equal to 4. And time quantum is a Q equal to 12. Time quantum Q equal to 12. Okay, now what is the start time for both the thread SA and SB? So initially no thread is started, right? So start time will be 0. So that is SA of 0 and SA. Okay, the start time of thread A at 0th invocation, which is equal to 0. And similarly SB of 0. Okay, start time of thread B at 0th invocation is 0. And virtual start time. So VA of 0, which is equal to 0, and VB of 0, which is equal to 0. So initially that value is 0, and later how it is calculated? VA of 0, and that is based on the previous equation, V of T. So that is virtual start time of the thread in service. Thread in service at time T. Then one more thing is that given is the thread B blocks at the time t equal to 24. Okay, so where t equal to 24, which refers to the real time. Okay, when the time is 24, thread B will be blocked. Okay, and it will wake up at 60. It will wake up at 60. Okay, so that last case we will see later. First, we'll see which thread will be executed first. Yes. T equal to 0. So T equal to 0 is nothing but that is a real time. So which thread will be executed first? Okay. So now what is SA and SP? That is the start time of thread A and B. All right. So now both are 0, right? Because now threads are not at started, right? So no threads are started. All right. So as I mentioned, if with respect to the rule 1, right? Ties are broken arbitrarily. So with respect to the rule 1. Okay, so now here they have considered yes, arbitrarily thread B is chosen to run first. So thread B is chosen to run first. Okay, any thread may execute. Here they have considered thread B is executed first. Okay, so when it's finished time, how do you compute its finish time? So finish time is yes, start time plus Q by WB. So what is the total time quanta? Total time quanta is 12 and the weight is B, so that is 4. So 0 plus 12 by 4. Okay, so maybe if we consider these are two threads, okay, thread A and B. So which one is executed? Now what is the this actually refers to the start time. All right, so both the thread start time is 0 only. So which one is picked? B is picked. So it start at 0. All right, and how long? When it will finish? If B of 0 is yes, you can consider something like this. Okay, so that is 0 to 3. So this is for 0 to 3. Okay, then after that, okay, then which thread has to be executed, whether thread B or A? Then you have to compute the start time. So which one is the smaller? Okay, so which one is smaller? So that is what given here. Okay, suppose if thread B is started, if you want to start thread B, so when it will start? It will start here, right? It will start here, and if it is thread A, it will start here. Then you have to check which is the smaller one, and you have to select the smaller one. Yes, that is what step 2. Okay, step 1 we have already seen, right? So the thread B is executed for 3 quantum. Then at t equal to 3, okay, so here t equal to 3 refers to real time. Now, yes, B1 of yes, start time of thread B at first iteration. So 0th iteration we have already seen. SB of 1, which is equal to max of V of 3, comma FB of 0. So FB of 0 is referring to the finish time. So when it was finished, it was finished at 3, right? So it was finished at 3. And this, what is the V of 3? What is V of 3? So V of 3 is nothing but is virtual start time of the thread in service at a time t. At a time t, which thread was in service? At a time t, the thread B was in service. What is its start time? Its start time is 0. So we are considering yes, max of 0, 3. So that is nothing but you will get 3. Okay. So that means so this will start at 3. This will start at 3, and thread A will start at 0. Then you compare. So 0 and 3, which is a smaller one. So but SA of 0 is smaller than SB1. Then what happens? Thread A is selected to run. Thread A will be executed. So now when it will finish? Thread A will start at 0, right? And the time quanta is 12 and the weight assigned is 1. So Q by 12 by 1. So that is 0 to 12. So it will be executed for 12. Alright, so it will be executed for 12 quanta. So starting from this, right? You can consider something like this. It will start from here, right? So maybe according to this, its virtual time is 0 and it is 12. Okay, real time is 3 to 3 and 12, 15, right? So this is the real time. Now once again, the same process will happen. All right. What is its next time? What is its next time? All right. So based on equation 2, and that has to be compared it with this. So whichever is the smaller, then that thread will be executed. So now you know, right? So this one is first thread is finished at 3, thread B and thread A is finished at 15, real time of 15. Okay, next at step 3. Step 3 is T equal to 15. Why T equal to 15? Thread B is executed for 3 quanta. Then after that, thread A was executed for 12. Okay. Then what is its next iteration? In case if thread is A is executed, if you want to execute a thread A, okay, then it is max of yes, it is max of V of 15. So that means what is the currently running thread? So currently running thread was VA, all right. So VA was a currently running thread whose start time. So whose start time was 0 only. Whose start time was 0 and the finish time was 12. So max of 0, 12. So you'll get 12 only. So you'll be getting 12. So now once again you just compare here. So this is the 12, all right. Suppose if this has to be started, it should start from 12. Otherwise 3. So now which one is smaller? Smaller is this. So once again, so this it will start from here. Okay. Anyway, maybe you can start from depends on the convention which you use. All right. So this will execute. So its virtual time is something like this: 3 and 6. Okay. It has started 0 to 3. Okay. Then after that 3 to 6. Okay. Then same process will be repeated. Right. So step 3 is over. Okay. Step 4, 18. Okay, so why it is 18? So look at here, 12, 12 plus 3, 15, 15 plus 3, 18. Okay, so now at t equal to 18. Okay, now what was the previously running thread? Previously running thread was thread B. All right, so thread B was finished at this time. Okay, so then what is the start time for thread B? What is the start time for thread B? Yes, start time for thread B is the thread which was active whose start time, all right? And what was its start time? Start time was 3, right? Start time was 3 and the end time was 6. Max of 3 comma 6. It is 6. Okay, then you'll be comparing it with the other previous one. All right. So now when yes, it has finished at 6, but with respect to the thread A was 12, which is already larger. So once again, the thread B will be picked. So thread B will be picked. So you can see here. So this is 6, right? 6. Where SB is already less than SA, where SA is 12, right? Even though it is executed for one slot, the duration was the 12. So once again, thread B will be picked, right? So 6 to 9. So 6 to 9. So it will be executed for 6 to 9. Yes, it is for 6 to 9. Okay, then 18. After 18, it is 21 because the thread B was executed whose slot was 21, 3, right? So 18 plus 3, 21. And here also, once again, same thing. So the start time, once again, the thread B only will be picked, right? Because see this will finish at 9, right? So 9 is always it is less than the uh, uh, which one virtual time you are taking, right? So 9 which is less than 12. So once again, so that will be executed for one more time. Yes. So you can see here. So FB of 3 equal to yes 9 plus 3, it becomes 12. So now both are equal. Okay, now at time t equal to 24, which thread was in service? Recently, the thread B was in service, right? So then, what is its next start time? Next start time was 12 only. Next start time was 12 only. Okay, so now thread B is suspended till 60. Now we'll go through the last part. So now what is given? Thread B is blocked set t equal to 24. When real time is 24, thread B will be blocked. Thread B will be blocked. So when thread B is blocked, then what happens? Yes, then so only thread A will be executing. So only thread A will be executing. Yes, so that is what given here at a t equal to 24. At a t equal to 24, right? So thread B is suspended till 60. So now till 60, what happens? Only only thread A will be executed. Only thread A will be executed. So that is what you can see here. All right. Maybe after that, thread A will be executed. All right. So it has finished at 12, right? Only one slot it has finished. Then next it will be executed for next 12 slot. Okay. So after this, once it becomes a 12, and it will be executed for next 12. So 12, 24, 36. Correct, until the real time becomes 60. Okay, similarly, the same process will be repeated. Okay, so here they have shown till step 9, right? Then after that, once again, when thread B is resumed, yes, once again, based on the start time, so the one of the thread will be executed. Yes, so this is what you have seen, right? So initially thread B is executed for 3 slot, right? So this is the virtual time, 0 to 3 is the virtual time. This 0 to 3, it is executed. Then after that, thread A is executed. Okay, it is time quantum is a 12, so it is executed for a 12. Then once again, it will be executed for 3 slot. Okay, then once again, another 3, another 3. Okay, then after that, what happens? So this also 12, this also 12. At that time, thread B will be blocked. Thread B will be blocked. When the thread B will be blocked, what happens? Yes, so once again, thread A will be executed for 12 quanta. So that is 12 to 24. Then once again, another 12 quanta. Right, 36. Okay, then after that, what happens? So here 48 plus 12, 60. After 60, what happens? Thread B will resume. So when the thread will be, resume, as I mentioned, right? They have taken if there is a tie, one of the thread will be will start arbitrarily, right? So where they have taken thread B, so then thread B will be executed. So the same process will be repeated. Okay, so yes.
Sir, so once can you go to the slide at t is equal to 24?
Yes.
Sir, so at t is equal to 24, if B was not suspended, then at that time, any one of A and B could be chosen, right?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
This is what given. No, now let us go back to the rule. First one. First one is yes. The threads are serviced in the order of their virtual startup time. Ties are broken arbitrarily. Okay, R1. So first, so that is rule 1. Next, we'll go to rule 3. So rule 3 is that is the finish time. Finish time, how do you compute the finish time? That is virtual start time plus quanta by Wx. Okay, we have seen, right, how to find the finish time, R3. Okay, then after that, we'll go to next start time or start time of the ith iteration of the thread. How do you compute that? Yes, x of start time of thread X in the ith iteration, which is nothing but max of finish time of same thread in the previous iteration, whether this one is max or v of tau of j, v of tau of j. Now, what is v of tau of j? That is nothing but virtual start time of the thread in service at time t. Okay, at that time, which thread was in service, and it's the start time you need to take in case. So that is for if the CPU is busy. If CPU is busy. Okay, in case if CPU is idle, so when CPU idle, now let's say that both the threads are blocked some duration of time, and one thread is resumed. At that time, what is the V of t you have to take? So that is maximum finish virtual time of any thread. So you have to consider the maximum finish virtual time of any thread. Okay, so next we'll see one condition for maybe completing a job within deadline. Yes, SLA specifies the time when the results of the computation done on the cloud should be available. The scheduling subjected to deadline is a topic drawing the vast body of literature devoted to real-time application. Okay, you can see many papers on maybe completing the task within a deadline. Okay, you can maybe see hundreds of paper, and here one paper they have maybe the working of or idea of one paper is presented here. Okay, so here they have considered maybe two types of applications. One is maybe real-time applications. Okay, which may be periodic or aperiodic task. Aperiodic task. So it is so one application you can consider it as maybe number of tasks. Okay, in that way they have considered. Now, how do you represent a task? A task is characterized by the tuple AI, sigma I, di. Okay, so where AI is nothing but it is the arrival time. It is the arrival time of the task. Okay, then what is sigma I? It is a data size of the task, and di is a relative deadline. Okay, suppose if it is arrived at the time and when it should be completed. Okay, now for the periodic task. Okay, so the instance of periodic task which is represented by pi of IQ. Okay, subscript and superscript, where superscript represents period. Okay, then I represents ith task. I represents ith task. So instance of periodic task by Qi with the period Q are identical. Alright, so that means maybe the time required for all the in case of periodic task or the period for each task is same. That is what given pi of Qi, which is equal to pi Q. The duration required, okay, and arrived at time A0, A1, A2 till AI with the I plus 1 minus AI equal to Q. Okay, so it will arrive at a same interval. It is something like this. Maybe the tasks are arrived at 5 minutes of interval. Maybe one task is arrived at maybe 9 o'clock, then followed by 9:05, 9:10, 9:15, 9:20, and so on. So when you see the difference will be same. That is nothing but Q. All right. So A0, A1 till AN. So AI plus 1 minus AI, which is equal to Q. Okay, the deadline satisfying the constraint di should be less than or equal to ai plus 1, right? So this is the condition should be satisfied, right? So before arrival of the next task I plus 1, the previous task should be completed, right? If one task is, if the tasks are arrived at maybe, as I mentioned, 9 o'clock, 9:05, 9:10, 9:15, and okay, so before arrival of 9:05, 9 o'clock task should be completed. So that is what deadline for DI, it should be less than or equal to EI plus 1, and similarly, and so on. So that is for the periodic task. But for the aperiodic task, as the name indicates, right? So the period it may not be equal, right? So the individual instance of aperiodic task I are different, and for that aperiodic task, the deadlines are represented as follows: AI plus DI. So that means if it is arrived at DI, and what is the deadline for that particular task. Next, maybe some. So this we already seen, right? So hard deadline and soft deadline. Yes, what is hard deadline? If task is not completed by the deadline, the other task that depends on it may be affected, and there are penalties. Okay, as I mentioned, what is hard in case if you consider the hard deadline. All right. So previous example, each task will arrive at an interval of 5 minutes, 9, 9, 5, 9, 10, 9, 15, and so on. All right. So before arrival of the 9-5 task, the previous one should be completed. Otherwise, so there will be penalty. Now, in the case of this hard deadline, a hard deadline is strict and expressed precisely as a millisecond or possibly second. So hard deadline they specify in terms of millisecond or a second. In the sense, it should be completed within particular seconds. There should not be any much deviation. Second one, as the name indicates, soft deadline. Soft deadlines play more of a guideline role, and in general, there are no penalties. Soft deadlines can be missed by a fraction of units used to express them. Okay, if there is maybe little deviation is also fine. Example is given: minutes. If the deadline is expressed in hours, it is something like this. If the maybe some application it has to complete within 3 hours, in the sense, in case if it is completed by 5 minutes also, no problem. So that is the soft deadline. Hours, if the deadline is expressed in days, right? If any task, if it has to be completed in this many days, and if it is extended by 1 hour, then okay, no problem for in case of soft deadline. Okay, so next is about the system model. See, at the same time, understanding this paper, and you just also look at how the papers are written, correct? Their idea, how idea they have represented, and so that is also you need to consider. Okay, so the first one we'll consider the aperiodic task. Okay, so here considered only aperiodic task with the arbitrarily divisible workloads. Okay, workloads are not equally distributed. Okay, that application runs in a partition of a cloud. So that is virtual cloud with the head node called S0 and N worker node, S1 to Sn. So as we have seen in the earlier slides, so your entire application consists of a number of tasks. Entire application consists of number of tasks, and each task will be executed by a dedicated machine. So that is what mentioned here. So when you are running on multiple machines, all right. So we need one node called as a master node or a head node, which is denoted by S0, and N worker node, S1, Sn. Okay, where each task will be run on a dedicated machine. Okay, dedicated machine maybe in the cloud. You can think it as one of the virtual machine, and it will be controlled by the master node or the head node. Okay, some assumptions. Okay, the system is homogeneous. All workers are identical, and communication time from head node to any worker node is same. Some assumption for the proof. They consider that all the machines are identical. Okay, with the same configuration, and communication time is also same from a master node to all slave node. Okay. The head node distributes the workload to the worker node, and this distribution is done sequentially. Okay, so workload is distributed sequential manner. In the sense, first any task has to be completed, it has some workload, right? So the master node will actually distribute the workload. How it will distribute it? Here they have considered the workloads are distributed sequentially. Let's say that maybe for first node S1, it is distributed. Let's say that it takes 10 minutes. Okay, then once it is completed, then it will be distributed to second node and the third node and so on. So once the workload is distributed, immediately that server can start. Okay, can start processing processing that task. Okay, in this context, there are two important problems. So that is the order of execution of tasks. So what is the order in which the tasks are executed, and how we are going to partition the workload, the workload partitioning and task mapping to worker node. So which task is mapped to which node? Okay, so there are different policies, right? So maybe policies, maybe FIFO policy. I hope you all already know FIFO policies, and earliest deadline first. All right, so that means whichever each task is associated with the deadline, right? So the task with the earliest deadline that will be scheduled first, or maybe maximum workload derivative first, MWF, maximum workload derivative first. So now what do you mean by maximum workload derivative first? So that is DCI of n min. So that is n min nothing but so minimum number of nodes. Minimum number. So see, we are running application in a cluster, right? The cluster contains one master node and a number of slave node. Okay, now what is the order? That is based on the maximum workload derivatives. How do you compute it? Yes, that is a DC of I n min equal to Wi of ni min plus 1 minus Wi ni min, where Wi of n is the workload allocated to task I when n nodes of the clouds are available. In a sense, now let's say that one task is you want to run one application. Okay, assume that you are running that on maybe 10 machines. You are running on 10 machines. So that is what Wi of ni minus ni min. Then you just compute in case if that is running on 11, if you are running that on 11 machines, then workload distribution changes, right? Then you have to consider the difference. Okay, so whichever will be having the maximum, that will be scheduled first. Yes, the MWF policy requires that the tasks are scheduled in the order of their derivatives. One with the highest derivative first. Okay, the number n of nodes assigned to the application is kept to a minimum. Okay, so this is the minimum number of nodes are required. Okay, so now how we are going to partition the workload? How we are going to partition the workload? Two workload partitioning and task mapping to worker node. One is optimal and equal partitioning. So there are two partitioning. One is optimal and equal partitioning. So first is optimal partitioning. So what is optimal partitioning? Yes, the optimality in OPR refers to the execution time. Here workload is partitioned to ensure that earliest possible completion time and all the tasks are required to complete at the same time. Now what is optimal partitioning rule in the sense? As we already seen, right? So in order to execute one application, first you have to distribute the workload among each of the node. All right. And here objective is all nodes should be completed at the same time. All nodes should be completed at the same time. Then you cannot equally distribute. You cannot equally distribute because you are not distributing the load at a time, right? After distributing the load to first node, then only you start distributing to the another node. So while distributing to the another node, first node can start execute. Okay, so you have to divide in such a way that all nodes should be completed, all should be completed at the same time. Okay, so these are all some of the notations. Please try to understand so that the remaining derivation you will be able to get what I'm explaining. Okay, so first one is the pi I. So what is that pi I? So that actually represents a periodic task. It is a periodic task. As I mentioned, right? One application may contains application contains number of subtasks, right? That subtask is represented by pi I, right? Pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, pi 4, and like that. Okay, now what is AI? AI is the arrival time of a task pi I. So it is a arrival time. So when that particular task will be arrived, it is a AI. Okay. So please note that an application consists of multiple tasks. Each task is represented by pi I. And each task is arrived at a time AI. And what is a deadline? The deadline is a DI. AI is the arrival time and DI is a deadline for that task. Okay. Now, what is the workload allocated to particular task? That is sigma I. Workload allocated to. All right. As I mentioned, each task some workload is allocated. Right. That is sigma I. And S naught is a master node. As I mentioned, we are working on this cluster. So cluster contains number of node. One is a master node. So that is S naught is a master node. Si, okay, where I is varying from 1 to n. That many number of worker node or the slave node. Okay, sigma is a total workload. Sigma is a total workload of the application. Sigma is divided among all tasks. That is sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3, and sigma 4, like that. And what is n? Number of nodes of the virtual cloud allocated to application A. Okay, how many number of nodes are required? N. And n min is a minimum number of nodes. N min is a minimum number of nodes. Okay, next. Okay, so then what is that symbol? Sigma. What is that symbol we refer? Okay, so this represents right. You want to execute or complete the task. Okay, you want to complete this task. So this is the task you want to complete with the n number of nodes. And what is the time? How much time is required? So the execution time required by n worker node. Okay. Next, what is this symbol represents? It is a cost of transferring unit of workload. See, whenever you want to execute a task, first you have to transfer the workload. Okay, now this tau represents the transferring unit of workload. For transferring unit of workload, this much time or the cost. Okay, it is represented as the cost of transferring unit of workload from master node to the SI. Okay, as I mentioned, see now let's say that this is a master node S naught, and then maybe number of worker node S1, S2, S3, and so on. First, you have to transfer the workload for each node, right? How do you transfer? First, you transfer this. After this, once it is completed, then you transfer the workload to S2, S3, and so on. Now, what is this represents cost of transferring unit of workload for one unit. What is the cost? Okay. Then this row represents cost of processing. Right. So execution in a sense you are considering both transferring plus processing, and for processing, what is the cost? It is represented by row. Okay. Next, alpha. Alpha is a distribution vector. Okay, how the loads are distributed? How we are going to distribute the load? All right, the distribution is mentioned, yes, alpha 1, alpha 2, and alpha n, so on. As I mentioned, you are not going for equal partition. Okay, you are going for optimal partition, so that all will be completed at the same time. So one distribution will be something like this. Maybe you can mention 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 in case if there are 3 nodes. Right, the distribution will be in this fashion. Okay, whatever it may be, so that all will be completed at the same time. Okay, next. So this one is over. Okay, now how much workload is allocated to SI? The fraction of workload allocated to node I, how much is allocated? How much is allocated in the sense that is what is the total load? Total load is nothing but this, right? This sigma into alpha 1, sigma 1 into alpha 1. Okay, so now let's say that there are 20 units. Okay, if it is 20 units, then if distribution is something like this, 0.2, then how much it will get? How much it will get? What is a 0.2 into 20? So it is a 4, right? So it will get 4, right? First node will get 4, and this one will get 6. Second one, and the third node will get 10, so that it will be 20. Okay, so that is what sigma into, so this. Then similarly for how much time required to transfer the data? How much time, right? So that is the workload allocated to node. So what is the workload allocated to node? This much, right? This into what is this term? This refers to cost of transferring unit per unit this much, and what is the cost for total? Then similarly for processing, how much the workload you are transferring, or how much workload it has to process? This much workload, and the cost for processing unit is a rho. So this into P, and this is the start time. Start time is T naught, and arrival time of application. Okay, arrival time is, now let's say that it is A, and this is the deadline for entire application, and completion time for application E. So next, you look at this one. Okay, so now this is important. Now, what is this one? This refers to. This is the transfer time, right? Now you have a workload. Now let's say that this is the total workload. Okay, and the workload, and you are assume that there are 5 nodes, and you are not equally distributing. Okay, maybe unequally you are distributing. Maybe first node you are distributing this much. Okay, or I'll take only 3. Okay, this unit. Okay, more. So why you are sending more? Because immediately after that it will execute. Okay, this is for the first node. Then second node, how much time is required? For the second node, you start transferring only one. The transferring of workload is finished for the node 1. So it is a, so this tau 1 plus tau 2 plus delta 2. Okay. Then similarly for the node 3, yes, 1, 2, 3 plus delta 3. Similarly, if there are n nodes, that's this. Now, now what is your objective? All should be completed at the same time. All should be completed at the same time. Okay, now you can see here S naught. It has a transfer to S1. Now this is the transfer time, and this is the execution time for S1. And for S2, okay, from S0 to transfer time is this much transfer time. Since it has started at here, then execution time is this much. And similarly for this, all should be completed at the same time. Yes, that is what represented here. You can see here. Yeah, so now what exactly this represents? In the previous slide, we have seen that, correct? So we have used this notation, right? So this is the transfer time plus processing time. Okay, that is for one node 1, right? Then similarly for node 2, right? Yes, this is what given. So how it is represented? Transfer time. Transfer time is nothing but what is this one? This is the total load. This is a total load. Okay, now for this fraction of that particular total, right? So now this is the fraction which is represented, right? In the previous example, I mentioned that if the total workload is 20, and for node 1, if it is only 0.2% in the sense, 0.2% of 20, which is equal to 4. Okay, right? Then tau, the cost of unit transfer for one unit, how much? All right, now let's say that for 1 unit it is 10. For 1 unit, if it is 10, then for 4 unit you have 40, right? 4 unit you have 40. Then similarly for second part. Second part is what? In the second part also, this actually represents the workload. This is the total workload. Total workload. A total workload is not assigned to node 1. It is a fraction. How much fraction? Same, right? 0.2. 0.2 of total workload is 20 of 0.2 of 20, which is nothing but 4 into P or the row. It is a cost of processing unit workload, cost of processing. Now let's say that cost of processing is 50. Then it will be 50 plus 4, 200 plus 40. So that is 240, right? That is complete for execution, right? How much time is required for node 1? Similarly, all the nodes should be completed at the same time. All should be completed at the same time, right? So it should be completed at 240 only. Okay, so now with respect to this, right? So now there is as I mentioned, right? Maybe node 1 I mentioned 240, right? So this is for node 1 and this is node 2. So it should be completed at the same time, right? So all should be completed at the same time. So by equating that, right, you will get alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta. Alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta. So alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta. So I'll write this one, alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta. Okay, so what is the beta? Beta is nothing but rho plus tau plus p. So beta is nothing but what is the notation? Right, so this is the transfer time and this is the execution time. As I mentioned, you have to equate this. Now you consider only first two, node 1 and node 2, right? So when you equate this part and here it will be same, right? And you will get alpha 1, alpha 1, then sigma. So this equal to alpha 2 sigma plus alpha 2 into sigma into, and what is common here? All right, so here, so this also it will be common, right? So it is common. So you will get only alpha 1 equal to alpha 1 into rho equal to alpha 2 uh, alpha 2 into tau, and alpha 2 is common, right? Alpha 2 I will take, so this tau plus rho. Okay, so this is what you get. All right, so then you can write in terms of where I wrote. Yes, and right. So alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta. So alpha 1 equal to alpha 2 by beta, where beta is nothing but is rho by tau plus. Yes, so this is what given. Okay, now, okay, so now how you can write alpha in terms of alpha 1. Okay, how we can write alpha in terms of alpha 1. That is nothing but alpha 2 equal to beta into alpha 1. And similarly alpha 3, which is equal to beta into alpha 2. Or how we can write everything in terms of alpha 1. So that is nothing but alpha I equal to beta of I minus 1 into alpha 1. Okay, so now this alpha is, what is alpha I? Alpha is the workload distribution, right? So alpha is the workload distribution, right? So you have seen here, right? So now what is alpha I? Where is this? It is right, alpha 1, alpha 2, and I have shown with an example also, right? So that is maybe if there are two nodes, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5, so that the total will be 1. The summation of the total equal to 1. Total equal to 1. So now the same thing I will write everything in terms of alpha 1 only I will write. So that is alpha 1. And how you can write alpha 2? Alpha 2 can be written in terms of beta into alpha 1. And similarly for alpha 3, beta square into alpha 1. Okay. So similarly you can write, then this will follow that pattern, right? So that is 1 plus x square. And what is its value? Its value is nothing but 1 minus x to the power n plus 1 by 1 minus x. So 1 minus x. So that is what written here. All right. So this is a, so 1 minus beta by, so how much time we have? Okay, 5 more minutes there. Okay. So, okay, how much time is completion time? So what is the completion time? So C of n equal to, so now let's say that T naught is the start time. T naught is the start time, and this is the complete execution time for, it is for complete application. So that you can write in terms of yes, 1 minus beta by 1 minus beta to the power n sigma, so rho plus tau. Okay, so now this has to be completed within this time, right? So within the deadline. So now what is the deadline? So this A is arrival time and D is a deadline for the complete application. Deadline for the complete applications. Deadline for the complete applications. Okay, so the same thing I'm writing here. So this I write in terms of T naught plus 1 minus beta by 1 minus beta to the power n sigma. So this, so it should be less than or equal to, yes, A plus D. Okay, then by simplifying this equation, right? Simplifying in the sense, maybe you just take this T naught to right side, right? And after simplifying this, so what you will get is that yes, beta to the power n is less than or equal to gamma. Okay, so what it says is that, okay, then n to find n. So what is n? N says that it is a, so minimum number of nodes. So minimum number of nodes are required, right, to perform this. To perform this in the sense, all has to be completed at the same time. All has to be completed at the same time. Yes, that is nothing but n. N is greater than or equal to ln of yes, gamma by ln of beta. Suppose if this condition is satisfied, ln of y by ln of beta, right? Uh, n values, right? So that is the minimum number of nodes are required. So minimum number of nodes are required to complete within a deadline. To complete within a deadline in the sense, all should be completed at the same time. Okay, so please go through this notation once again. All right. So what exactly this refers? Yes, so this is a total workload. This is a total workload, and how it is distributed among each node based on the, yes, alpha, right? So that is the workload distribution vector, right? So work distribution you are specifying, right? Suppose if there are maybe only two nodes are there, then I may specify maybe something like this, 0.7 and 0.3. Okay, according to that, the workload will be distributed. Why it is not equally distributed? So our aim is that all tasks should be completed at the same time, right? And so before execution of the task, first the workload has to be transferred. So the master node will transfer the workload to the each data node or the worker node. First it will transfer to the node 1, then after that node 2, and so on. See, once it completes transferring the workload to node 1, okay, and it can start to process the it can process the task, okay, at the time when the master node is sending the workload to other. Okay, then what is the total execution time? Yes, the total execution time is given by this. Okay, tau 1 plus a delta 1. Now, what exactly this refers to? This is the transfer time and this is the processing time. Transfer time plus a processing time. All right. Now, how do you compute the transfer time? Transfer time is nothing but this is the total workload, and this alpha, what is the fraction? Okay, so that will get what how much workload you are transferring to particular node, and this is the unit cost into workload. So that is a transfer, and similarly for this one, this is for processing. So this is a total workload, and this is the fraction. So that means this much fraction of this workload, this has to be processed. And what is the cost? Unit cost is a rho into that. So that will give the total cost. Okay, so we have only 2 minutes for the quiz. So I will stop.
Sir, can you upload these slides?
The slides already uploaded. Okay, this unit it is not uploaded. For the quiz, sorry, for the in-semester portion I have uploaded.
Thank you, sir.